welcome.
So you were talking about a person who you were looking at working with who had recently had a stroke,
Yes.
and the angst you perceived that he had and not wanting you to witness his deterioration.
Mm.
Part of it for us who had those rapid, significant shifts, whether it's the Bell's palsy, spinal impact after a pre-existing condition, whatever it was, part of the adjustment is we think we're supposed to get back to where we were.
Mm.
And what we don't realize yet is that it takes twice as much effort to get half as far as you were before the impact. Like you've watched my mind since we've met, right?
Yeah.
In 2015, my recall was very short,
Yeah.
vapid, and I would have no idea what we were talking about.
Yeah.
My medication regimen was tricky and it was
Mhm.
excessive, I
Very
think.
excessive.
When I look today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trusting everyone I'm told I'm supposed to trust, right? The doctors,
Yeah.
family, friends, everyone has well-intended advice or suggestions. My favorite is experience, right? What worked for you? That's more valuable to me than conjecture or guessing or, what have you. And part of it is we are missing that translation piece with other people. If you're not a person who lives in chronic pain, and it really isn't constant pain, it's more like a temperature of pain. It goes up and down. When I work in the garden, I can become so intent that I not necessarily ignore the pain. I mean, I definitely keep adjusting by standing and sitting on chairs now instead of bending and
Taking
splaying.
breaks.
What a concept, right?
I know. Yeah.
And time management is tricky too because usually we're navigating the loudest pain. And it doesn't matter if it's psychological or physical, the life force impact is equal.
Yeah.
Equal. When I haven't had sleep for a long period of time and my decision making processes become looped, I'm grateful I still have that code.
Yes.
And that code I rejuvenate and refresh every day by reading something, meditating on something, contemplating something that's beyond my comfort level. I'm not looking for, I don't want to read something that validates where I'm at. I want to read something that challenges me to go where I haven't been. And part of the pain marches, we forget that every day really is a new day.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have looked at 2015 and thought, okay, on top of all that, I'm going to get Bell's palsy. On top of all that, I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And yet today, I'm stronger in some ways than I was in 2015. Back then, I was haggard and hanging on.
Yeah.
Haggard and hanging on. Where today, utilizing a calendar, which helps.
It does, doesn't it?
Right.
We both appreciate that system.
Yeah. And I need time to be on time. So my 3 alarm system, all right, first alarm 15 minutes before you have to walk out the door, and then the walk out the door alarm, and that usually gives me time to get to where I want to go plus 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's my formula.
Yeah.
I'd rather be early than late.
Yeah.
Other people have put their time in the forefront, and I want to honor that. Well, most of us don't know how to honor the time we need because our pain takes up so much of the time. Whether it's, I've got to throw my shoulders back before I go up these stairs and posturally correct, or, I'm in the garden and
it's too late. And it's too late, huh? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it's worth the price to find out. That's why, once a year we do the medication cutbacks to see how low I can humanly go. Yes, to the point of suffering. However, we get to learn where I'm at when I suffer, and I get to help develop new strategies. I have to communicate.
Would you say, when we were talking about this gentleman who just had a stroke about 2 years ago, so in terms of where you're at in your timeline since the incidents that led to certain conditions, right, being exacerbated.
Yeah.
And where he's at, like, would you say he's at the early phase of like anger and denial, and then you're at the, is that how it looks like in healing and recovery? Are you at the acceptance phase? Is that
That's an interesting question. So I hate to blow that all out.
okay?
It's not linear. It's
How so?
amoebic. It's amoebic. It fluctuates. So
This is interesting.
when I couldn't use my arms in 2015 and I had to sleep in that chair,
Yeah.
right? My anger was quickly replaced by fear.
Of what?
Will I ever?
Ah.
And then the litany of the list grows significantly and exponentially.
Okay.
Will I ever sleep flat?
Yeah.
Will I ever be able to hold a gallon of milk again?
Yeah.
Will I ever be able to stand
Yeah.
for something for 10 minutes? Will I be able to be physically intimate without my mind screaming in pain? Right?
Yeah.
And at that time, I can't even fathom getting back to a job because I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing this haggard person in front of me and I don't know what to do for this poor kid. You know what I mean? There's so many exacerbating conditions. So the anger might be when I go to open the refrigerator door and shooting pain goes up to my elbow and then rips up the outside of the arm.
Yeah.
I'm angry at the pain. I'm angry at the fact that I have to be in pain.
Yeah.
And I'm angry at the fact that the pain holds. You know, when I do something where I gasp, or I use my headaches are usually excruciating yet very fast.
But very painful though, right?
So I've got the ram's horn that goes around. I've got the temple, right, and then the sinus. And all three are very different. And then the trigeminal, which cancels everybody else out.
Yeah.
Cancels everybody else out. The highest pain wins. Every minute of every day, if we don't acknowledge the pain, address the pain, and not necessarily embrace it, yet acknowledge it and give a counter. Sometimes it's counterintuitive. You know, when I feel good, I want to go and get all this shit done that that's been weighing on my heart. Because as a butch, I'm supposed to. You know, all the kits are topped up around the house and in the cars, right? All the systems for winter and spring are getting ready to rotate.
Yeah.
And my body says I'm 30 years old. And I forget. I'm 57. I've had more time on this planet being 30 plus than I have being 57 plus.
That's true. So by experience alone, our memories are in that length of experience, right? Of those 10 years, that decade of your 30s. Yeah, so you remember more of it?
Well, unfortunately, I'm someone who's had catastrophic events in my life, good and bad. Good, I understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Bad, because I got to feel around all this shit. Right? So, my house burns down. Right? How crazy is that?
I know.
In 96, a couple months before I graduate from college, which took me an exponentially much longer period of time.
Yeah.
2 kids, partners,
Yeah.
Having to navigate life through all of that.
Yeah.
And then when I had the slip and fall on the ice in the parking lot when I worked at the Displaced Homemaker Center.
How old were you when that happened?
Jesus, to be honest, I think I just bought this house, so around 98. Because I remember sitting on the donut.
Ah, yeah.
So that was stripping for me. Right? I'm using a physical aid that others can see.
Yes.
My condition has become obvious physically. I feel exposed. I feel embarrassed. And I feel like my skill set's going to be called into question. Oh, poor thing. Or, you know what I mean?
People making excuses out of sympathy or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of finding out where I'm at. Yet I don't have a vocabulary for this new environment. When I was experiencing it, surviving it was all I could do. I couldn't communicate it and survive it.
That's true.
It's because I've survived so many massive shifts in my life that I've learned how to massively shift. What I'm learning is how to include others That I'm not.
You've been a lone wolf, a warrior, right? On your path, and yeah. What's the hardest part about including those you love when you're going through something tough or in a very challenging time?
I don't want to drain the pack.
Okay.
Number one, I don't want to become a liability on those I love or a resource depleter, or I don't want sympathy. I don't want people feeling bad for me.
Okay.
And because most people don't know the extent of everything, people all know pieces of something. Very few have been included in knowing everything, and because most people seem overwhelmed by my life and just my expressing it, I feel like I would burden them by telling them whatever struggles I'm going through, and it would question, their foundation. Where that's why having friends and family of choice is so vital. We really need to remember who we were, yet we also need those who embrace us for where we're going and where we are today.
Yeah.
There are some people we haven't met yet that we'll meet over the next year that are going to revolutionize our lives in ways we have no clue. I know this to be true. This is an ongoing legacy of open-mindedness.
I like that.
That's pretty trippy, huh?
Yeah.
So a lot of what I struggle with, number one, is a vocabulary. It was only through our conversations of trying to explain, type of pain, location of pain, intensity of pain, duration of pain, without talking excessively about the pain.
Yes, and that in itself, isn't it, brings more attention to the pain. And sometimes I remember you telling me the last thing I want to do right now is actually focus on the pain. Yeah. When I start asking you those questions, isn't it? Yeah. So as healthcare providers, something important to remember as well, isn't it?
That's your court. You've seen all the care perspective. And when I went into a place when the colonoscopy prep and days and days and days of no sleep and excruciating pain where my mind snapped, and I went to a place of paranoia which I'd never experienced. I'm like, wait, my wife's a nurse and she can lock me up because of her say-so and her validity? And that never occurred to me because I don't think I think anything like that. Inherently, my ultimate fear is entrapment of my body, number one. I'm heading this way. I've always been heading this way.
Yeah.
How do I not head this way? Entrapment of my mind, where I feel like such a burden on those I love, where it feels like it would be an act of kindness to end my life so everyone could have their life back.
And that's that place. That's where you go in those moments.
That's where we all go in our fear. I stopped asking myself, how much more can I take?
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah. What I say today is I can take anything for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
So it's like minutes at a time sometimes, huh? Getting through moments.
Yeah, always. Yeah. Right? So part of when I get certain places of pain, which I know are on lines of entrapment, especially the stuff running down the neck and down the arms.
Yes.
We haven't had that in quite some time. Yet when it strikes, if it's running down here, I'm like, oh good, one section. If it's running down here, oh good, one section. When it's running down here and here, I'm like, oh my God, what am I losing?
Yeah.
That's what pain does. It steals from us. I lose time with people, I lose time with myself, I lose time in my ability to stay in my body and feel comfortable and pain-free. I have moments of that. And yet I've also learned, what do I do that makes it worse?
Yeah.
All of my teeth are fractured and shattered from night grinding. When you met me, I was totally dependent on a CPAP machine because I stopped breathing repeatedly through the night. Yet now I get up through the night. So I'm always having to reassess and reevaluate. I can't assume that what worked yesterday will work today, and I can't assume that it won't.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So the 4 houses are like 4 gardens. If I tend to all 4 gardens, then I won't get choked off with weeds. If I neglect one, yeah, the other one might have taller flowers this week, yet I'm hatcheting my way through the other. And they're all like a baby mobile. They all are interconnected. You don't touch one without touching the others. And so when I felt so convicted over my behaviors when I was drinking and repeating those conviction-causing behaviors, right? I'll do the shit I wouldn't normally do sober. And that trigger and cycle of, shame and self-hatred, basically, I'm chasing my own self-destruction. I can do the same thing by not taking medication as doctor prescribed. You under-prescribe your own pain medications because you think you're saving something.
Yeah.
Instead, you're torturing yourself. Better to do the whole process with your doctor like we do.
Yeah, openly and transparently, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've had some great responses and we've had some not so great responses, right?
We have. Due to that honesty.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I challenge that. I don't think it's due to the honesty. I think it's due to the dishonesty. Like when I was a drunk and showing up in emergency rooms because of a car accident or what have you, I'm dishonestly stealing services from people who are having it happen as a natural causation of living. Heart attacks, strokes, sickness, whatever. I'm self-indulgent by drinking myself or driving fast or whatever the surge or distraction source is. It doesn't matter. So even by not talking about it, I end up burdening other people inadvertently.
That's true.
Not twisted.
Yeah.
You talk about it, you feel shitty while you're talking about it. Like after the whole recent assault thing, it was...
Yeah.
They're like, oh, expose yourself to the stimuli and talk about them. I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. I'm just trying to stay in my skin and in my house.
Exactly.
The feelings are just... And that's another thing that, in the emotion house, how do we tend to that? Like right now with COVID, everybody on some level is stranded. We haven't hugged Anna, yet we have each other.
We do. And I'm so grateful for that, I'm so intimately aware of it now.
Right.
Just someone to hold or hug or be near each other. Touch is so important.
Vital.
Yeah, and we need that so much, more now as we navigate the next few months as well.
True. True.
Yeah.
So who should we... I've already spoken to 2 people on the phone today.
Have you? Okay, so it's my turn.
That's great for me. I'm horrible on the phone. I'm barely
really
a texter.
good.
I know, right?
I'll have to reach out to mine too today.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'll try 1 or 2 more because there's some people I've been trying to reach. So.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
You're welcome. Should we go on our first freedom walk?
Yes.
Our first time exiting
After 2 weeks of self-isolation, returning from Singapore. We were not quarantined to do it, but we wanted to, just to keep our friends and loved ones safe. So today we can go beyond our house. And we just look forward to a drive together. Such a beautiful day, and it's a gift to be alive.
And we'll shoot some pictures for you all so you can come with us as well.
How's that?
Sounds good, my love.
Okay.